Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the New York Foreign Press Center. Thank you very much for coming today, for everybody in person and also for everybody that's joining us virtually. My name is Sean Tembrink. I'll be moderating this session. We're going to start off going just over a few ground rules. Today's briefing will start with opening statements by our two briefers, followed by questions and answers. We just ask that when you ask your question, please say your name.
Oyokieleng ya CONGO. Tapez les mains, tapez les mains, tapez les mains, tapez les mains, tapez les mains.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the New York Foreign Press Center. Thank you very much for coming today, for everybody in person and also for everybody that's joining us virtually. My name is Sean Tembrink. I'll be moderating this session. We're going to start off going just over a few ground rules. Today's briefing will start with opening statements by our two briefers, followed by questions and answers. We just ask that when you ask your question, please say your name, what outlet you're from, and then answer your question. We'll also have microphones in the room. Please wait for the mic before you answer your question. And for people joining online, we'll get to your questions as well. I will call you out by name, at which point please unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sure. Can I go?
Yes, you may. Today's topic is advancing Trump administration priorities in sub-Saharan Africa. Today, our two briefers are U.S. Senior Advisor Massad Boulos and Senior Bureau Chief of the Bureau of African Affairs, Ambassador Jonathan Pratt. And with that, I'll hand it over to both of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for being here. It's a great pleasure to be with you. This has been an extremely busy week for all of us. And we've been working on a number of issues, especially conflicts and conflict resolutions. Unfortunately, as we all know, there are quite a few of them in the African continent. So we've been working predominantly this week on the DRC Rwanda conflict, on the Sudan conflict, and so many other conflicts in the Horn of Africa and in that sub-region. In addition to Libya, we organized, on Tuesday, we organized a conference on Libya. Yesterday, we participated in a conference on Sudan with the EU and AU, and other other partners had joined as well, such as UAE and Egypt. Just before that, we had a Quad meeting on Sudan as well at ministerial level with Secretary Rubio. So we've been quite busy on those three topics mainly, but several other conflicts as well in the region. So I'll be glad to take your questions, Ambassador.
Thank you. Senior Advisor Boulos and all of you, pleasure to be here. It's been a busy week on Africa affairs, heavy engagement by the Secretary, the Deputy Secretary, Undersecretary of Political, Senior Advisor Boulos and myself. I won't repeat the whole scheduled meetings because I think you all have access to it. The Secretary had a very long meeting with President Ruto yesterday evening, which was very positive. Deputy Secretary had a wonderful meeting with Mauritius this morning, the Foreign Minister. Mauritius is very excited to host the U.S.-Africa Business Summit next year, after the very successful one that was held in Angola earlier this year. And so that's been a heavy focus of my week. As you know, I spoke at the Atlantic Council earlier in the week about energy in Africa, really making Africa and the U.S. the centerpiece of energy, and in both directions. I then participated in a separate event the following day with the Secretary of Energy, Secretary Wright, to promote U.S. businesses that are also selling U.S. energy to Africa for clean cooking options. And so really a two-way discussion about energy going on this week. Several African leaders were heavily engaged, including the president of Mozambique. Had two very high-profile events this week to promote Mozambique's energy ambitions, which were quite well attended. I was at one of them at the Atlantic Council. And of course, really positive meetings with some of the shining stars in Africa, like the Iceland and others whose economies are really are driving the continent forward. So We're excited about our Africa policy, very heavily focused on growth and opportunity for U.S. companies, and it's been a productive week overall. So over to you all for questions.
With that, we'll start questions in no particular order. We'll go from our right to our left.
Well, thank you so much. Julien Piquet, I'm with the Africa Report in Jeune Afrique, based in Washington, D.C. Companies in Paris. I know this is a sub-Saharan Africa briefing. Since you are the Arab advisor as well, if I could just, I have questions on DRC as well, but on Morocco, there was an announcement yesterday that we are going to start supporting U.S. investment in the Western Sahara. I would love for you to talk to us a little bit about how we got there, how important it is. Does that mean XM, DFC? Like, what does that really mean? On DRC, you talked about peacemaking. The President Kagame is not here. The president of DRC was on the used his tribune to call out a genocide in his country, called the Rwandans by name. So can you talk a little bit about, that dynamic? We've been hearing about a possible meeting of the presidents. It keeps on getting pushed back. Now we're hearing November, December in D.C. It seems like they're stuck in Doha, M23 DRC. What's happening there? Do you think the Qataris should be pressing the M23 more? Just would love to get your thoughts on that situation, how we unstick it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Technically, you're right. If this is sub-Saharan, then even Libya wouldn't qualify for that. And we've done a lot of work on Libya this week as well. But as you rightfully said, we've been working on the partnership with Morocco and with Algeria as well. We've done quite a few meetings this week, especially our Deputy Secretary, Chris Landau. He met yesterday with both foreign ministers, and I am meeting today with both foreign ministers as well, right after this meeting, actually. Regarding the Western Sahara and Morocco in general, not just the Sahara, the Deputy Secretary Landau announced this afternoon. Have you seen it? He tweeted. Very good. So we are absolutely encouraging and supporting U.S. investments in Morocco, in the entire Morocco, which includes the Sahara. And we're fully supporting with regards to financing these projects, starting with the DFC, primarily DFC, but also other institutions, U.S. Exim Bank and others. Same thing we did with Algeria. We, not necessarily in terms of financing specific investments, but announcing. We've recently announced 2 huge contracts in Algeria with ExxonMobil and Chevron Texaco on fracking. We also announced a very large project in the agricultural sector with Algeria. And this goes to show that our approach to the African continent generally and to investments in Africa is not limited to oil and gas and definitely not to minerals. We're financing and helping finance and supporting all sorts of projects in numerous sectors, starting with infrastructure. We've recently announced several infrastructural projects when we were in Angola for the US-Africa Business Summit, which include electrification, electrical transmission lines. About $3 billion worth of projects were announced and signed during that event. Port project in Gabon, highways, railways, some projects in the DRC as well. I'm just coming back from Ethiopia, and I came back straight to Anga from Ethiopia, where we talked about our support to the new airport project. And it's going to be probably the biggest airport in Africa and one of the biggest in the world. It's a $10 billion project, probably more. The DFC and other institutions are supporting. We are also working closely with many projects relating to Boeing, Boeing has a very, very strong partnership, as we know, with Ethiopian Airlines, with Royal Air Maroc, with many other airlines across the continent, including Gabon and Angola and the DRC and many others, too numerous to list. And they've been making announcements on those. So I've talked about giants, but there are many other medium-sized companies as well. In the AI space, we've been announcing one project after the other, including Ivory Coast and Gabon and several other countries. So it's quite diverse, and it's all-encompassing, and it's action. So we've only been here for a few months, and President Trump has already delivered on his Africa policy, which is shifting from aid to trade, which is establishing these strong partnerships across the continent and supporting them. This was a long answer, and you've asked a couple of questions regarding the DRC. Yes, President Kagame is not here. We had not planned any specific meetings with him here at ANGA. He couldn't make it this year. What we did meet with President Tshisekedi, of course. However, we're meeting with his foreign minister. So his foreign minister is leading the Rwanda delegation. We're meeting with him. I'm meeting with him tomorrow. I don't know if some other meetings took place with him, probably.
There have been a number of engagements.
Yeah, number of engagements. So we're in continuous communications with them regarding the peace process. You mentioned Doha. Of course, the Doha track is extremely important. Of course, we all know the sad events in Doha in September. So this has probably delayed a bit the process by just a few weeks. However, we really count on our partners, the Qataris, to move forward with this very, very important process, because this is the last piece of the puzzle. This is what will complete the entire puzzle for this process to work. The internal dialogue between the M23 and the DRC government. As soon as we have a full agreement on that, the whole thing will go into execution mode. And as you know, we facilitated with our partners, the Qataris, in Doha on July 12th, the Declaration of Principles that was signed by the two parties, by the M23 and the DRC government. So that was a successful first step, a good milestone. It set the pace for negotiations. As you know, August is generally a month of more or less vacation for most. And then you had the attack in Doha in September, so we lost a few weeks. But they've started as we speak. The negotiations are ongoing. The U.S. is an observer to this and a facilitator as well to this process. The Qataris have been extremely helpful to us and great partners to us, not just on this, but several other tracks, as we all know. Thank you.
Next question will go here, and let's limit questions to one per person.
Thank you. My name is Viviana Mazza. I'm the U.S. correspondent for Corriere della Sera, the Italian newspaper. So after spearheading negotiations for the agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, some hope that you could bring a breakthrough, a diplomatic breakthrough for Libya. And, you know, I know that you met this morning, I believe, with our Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani, and you know how important for Italy that is. So I wanted to ask you if a breakthrough of any kind is in sight. Of course, you know, this is not new, so are you, like the issues are not new, and, you know, so is there a new approach? And you mentioned, so I wanted to ask you some new details, if there are any, and what role can Italy have in this? And also if there's any, there were reports about Palestinians being maybe relocated to Libya. Is there any truth to that report? Can you say anything about that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. First of all, on Italy, Italy is our great partner and great ally, and we've been working together on a number of files, including Libya. Italy has been extremely supportive and extremely helpful on Libya. I've met with the Deputy Minister this week. However, I've been meeting with your Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister. I've met with him several times, and we've been in continuous communication anyway. I've also met with your National Security Advisor and many members of your administration. Italy has been extremely helpful on the Libya track especially, but on many other things. You're also aware that we recently facilitated a meeting in Rome at our embassy that we announced in early September. And we highly appreciate Italy's support. So we are pursuing, and we had, as I mentioned earlier, we organized a conference on peace in Libya on Tuesday, which was also attended by your Deputy Foreign Minister and all other partners on this. And we had also virtually with us Mrs. Hannah Tate, the Special Representative of the Secretary General. And we fully support her role. We fully support her roadmap. So the main topic of discussion was the roadmap of the UN mission in Libya. The roadmap is quite clear and it's quite comprehensive, of course. It's all about the implementation. It's all about the mechanisms to be used towards implementing this roadmap, but we all agree on the goals. Libya needs to be unified. There are a number of approaches that can be also taking shape in parallel to this complete and comprehensive process, which includes matters relating to the constitution, matters related to elections at various levels, but most importantly, legislative and presidential. But we all know that they've recently organized some local elections, and they were successful, though they did not take place everywhere, but wherever they were able to hold those elections, they were quite successful with a high turnout, which also shows it's a sign that Libyans are eager to participate in this democratic process. So we're working with the UN mission, we're working with Italy and other allies, including France and Egypt and Turkey and the UAE and others, UK, towards the successful implementation of this roadmap. In parallel, as I mentioned, we're trying to take some practical steps so as not to wait 1 to 2 years, which is the timeline for that roadmap. We're trying to take, and we have taken or facilitated. I mean, we don't take, it's the Libyans who do. We just facilitate. They've taken some good steps towards unification of various aspects of their institutions. Just a quick example, the NOC budget, the national budget, the matters relating to their military, especially regarding counterterrorism, and things of that nature. So those can be ongoing in parallel while the main roadmap is being implemented. Oh, I have no idea whatsoever. I've gotten some questions on this, and I do not believe that anyone from our administration has ever entertained this question or had any discussions whatsoever on this topic. Thank you.
We're going to go online real quick for one question before we come back to the room. Can I ask Mukhtar to unmute and please ask your question?
Good afternoon, Mr. Boulos, and good afternoon, Mr. Pratt. This is Mukhtar Balde, and my question is directed to Mr. Boulos and is related to the pathway of countries in West Africa that have experienced military coups in recent years. I'm thinking here about Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and the country where I'm from, Guinea. I want to get your perspective as the President's senior advisor on Africa, mostly on Guinea, where a referendum was held this past Sunday, and that referendum will allow the President to stay in power for decades and decades to come, and is not inclusive at all. And what is the official reaction of the Trump administration? And is a fair election process a part of your priorities? Thank you for taking my question.
Thank you very much for this question. I will just have a quick comment on it, and I will ask Ambassador Pratt also to weigh in. Just quickly, yes, we've seen a number of these coups in recent years, unfortunately, in sub-Saharan Africa. And that's unfortunate in many cases. Look at what has happened now in the Sahel region, and this is one of our main concerns. We've been working with many of our allies and partners and friends in the region and elsewhere towards containing what's happening in the Sahel region. With regards to the coup, let's take the example of Gabon. We fully support what Gabon has done, which is the transitioning to a civilian, democratically elected president. But first of all, doing all the reforms. So we saw that Gabon was able to do all the necessary reforms, including constitutional reforms, and then organized and held very successful presidential elections earlier this year. We welcomed that. We attended the inauguration. We invited the president to the White House in July, and we appreciated what he has done. And as we speak, they are in the process of campaigning now for legislative elections, which will take place, I think, this weekend. So it's a very good model that we can use, not us, but I mean countries can use in the region to learn from. It's a success story, in our opinion. We appreciate the partnership we have with Gabon, and we do hope that others will follow suit. With regards to what each country does, we do not usually in any way interfere with their internal matters, but we would like to show them some good success stories like Gabon and probably some others.
I think that's right. I mean, we support democratic outcomes, and our closest partners on the continent are democratically elected governments. And so you look at the priority that we've given to a country like Kenya, where, you know, the elected government and one of our closest partners on the African continent. And as Senior Advisor Boulos said, you know, Gabon can be a good example to the other countries, especially in the Sahel. We could be doing a lot more with those governments if they transition to elections and democracy. We have our own restrictions that you're all well aware of in terms of providing assistance to governments that aren't democratically elected. We would like to work more with those countries, especially on counterterrorism, but there are, you know, restrictions in place by our Congress. And so, absolutely, we support democratic outcomes and have better partners in that way.
Take a question in the room.
Thank you. Can I ask my question in French?
Yes.
We prefer English for the transcript.
Because of my audience, I think it's important for in French, if you don't mind.
You mind doing it both? Yeah.
Yes,
If you do it in both,
sure.
I will answer you in English.
Yeah, of course, but I think I feel more comfortable in French as well.
Sure. In both, please.
Yeah. Monsieur Boulos, merci beaucoup pour cette opportunité de vous poser la question. Et votre visage, c'est d'abord, je me présente, pardon, c'est Marius, je suis journaliste de Kinshasa Télévision, en République démocratique du Congo. Votre visage est un visage d'espoir pour le peuple congolais depuis la première fois qu'ils ont fait votre connaissance quand vous êtes arrivé à Kinshasa. Et je vous remercie pour tous les efforts que vous êtes en train de faire pour amener la paix en RDC. Alors, la grande question, c'est que quel est selon vous l'obstacle principal qui empêche aujourd'hui que les accords de paix en RDC entre le M23 et le gouvernement soient concrets? Deuxièmement, qu'est-ce qui vous donne vraiment confiance que cette fois-ci, les négociations qui se passent, cette fois-ci sont les meilleures? Et peut-être la troisième question, il y a une rencontre qui a été prévue à Washington, qui a été annoncée entre le président rwandais, le président rwandais et le président congolais. Qu'est-ce qui fait traîner pour pas qu'ils se rencontrent jusque-là?
Okay, to translate the question is going to take time, but so let me, you can tell from there. Yeah, so he's asking obviously about the DRC M23 dialogue and about the Rwanda DRC peace. Regarding the visit, you said there was an announcement. We never made any announcement as to the White House event. However, we did talk about an eventual White House event, definitely, and President Trump mentioned it a few times. We never made any announcement as to any specific date. We're working on a number of issues. As you know, it's a complicated conflict that has gone on for 3 decades or more. And going back, I think, to your question, yes, I mean, millions of people lost their lives in this conflict, probably 6 or 7 million. I know, just remember that I didn't answer that part of your question. So, yes, it was one of the... I agree with President Tshisekedi with what he said. Now, if he described it as a genocide or if it's an expression, that's... The technicality there is not for me to judge right now, but millions of people lost their lives. And that's post-genocide. We're not talking about the Rwanda genocide. So it's a complex process, and we have put... The most important thing is that we have put together many mechanisms in place between the two parties. Now I'm talking about DRC Rwanda, but also between the M23 and DRC. They've just, we announced a couple of weeks ago or so, or probably more, a mechanism for prisoner exchange between the M23 and the DRC government. In fact, just this morning I had the privilege of meeting with the head of the ICRC, because this agreement is between M23 and the DRC government, but facilitated by the ICRC. And this was reached in Doha. So there are some good steps and good progress happening in Doha. So first we had the declaration of principles, then we had this prisoner exchange, and we're working on a number of confidence-building measures as well. But whether there are obstacles to this particular, you know, it's an internal dialogue. It's a conflict. You have to address the root causes of the conflict. And both sides agreed to address the root causes in the Declaration of Principles on July 12th. So I believe there are 9 major areas of focus, and some of them can take some time. Some of them can take a few weeks. For example, the governance issues. There are questions on governance, decentralization, and many other details of that nature, and also integration or reintegration of the M23 fighters and other groups into whether some will be integrated into the DRC army, and whether others will be integrated into some sort of local governments, and so on and so forth. So these are complex issues. Some could be constitutional in nature, and so on. So they do take some time. However, we have a draft. So a lot of work has been done. And again, Qatar here has played a huge role. And we have a draft, so they're working on that final draft. And thank you very much for what you said initially about being the face of hope. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that very, very much. And anywhere I meet with the Congolese, whether here or Europe or anywhere else, I really appreciate that very much.
We're going to go back online for the last question. We're going to go to Pearl Please, can you unmute and ask your question?